On behalf of People Before Profit, I want to express our solidarity with the victims and really to genuinely thank those who came forward and raised this and brought it to the public eye. We owe them, I believe, a deep debt of gratitude. And there was something different about this particular revelation, because we've been heaped with revelations of abuse by the clerics and the churches of men, women and children over the last few decades. But what was different, I thought, about this was the sense of shock across society that a school such as Blackrock, in a middle-class area where the parents had to pay fees and hefty fees to have their boys educated, where you would assume that children have the tools to be able, the tools of confidence and to be able to articulate how they feel and what's going on, would prevent any sort of abuse of their lives. But we absolutely saw horrifically that that wasn't the case. And indeed, I had a very good friend, a wonderful, articulate, intelligent man who took his own life a few years ago, and subsequently his brother took his life. Both of them attended Blackrock College. I'm never going to know. Their families are never going to know. If it was the case, they didn't speak out about it. But certainly the call from the victims for a full inquiry has to be supported. But the issue facing us in this Oireachtas is what type of inquiry. As has been said, 233 men have come forward and the order has paid out 5 million in compensation. But I would like to argue here that one of the most important things we can do for the victims is to conduct a criminal inquiry, and a criminal inquiry that has teeth, and will use Interpol as well to track down what actually happened throughout the lifetime of the record of abuse of this order. I had a victim of the Jesuit order in Belvedere College visit me in the clinic during the week as a consequence of the revelations, and that's exactly what he said they want to see, is criminal investigation of paedophiles. After all, if a drug dealer, and we've seen it, travelled across the world carrying out the operation of accumulating and dealing drugs and accumulating monies from it, Interpol would help the Irish police to follow them around and to build a case against them. Blackrock and the Spiritans show, just as mother and baby homes did, that the effects of abuse are not historical artefacts of a bygone era, but the trauma and the suffering continues today. And making a statement and offering apologies is fine, when we in the Dáil need to look at what is the proper response of the state to the systemic and widespread abuse of women and children, and indeed of men, by religious orders. And I want to argue that to date we've failed miserably. We've debated the redress scheme for mother and baby homes and all of the wrongs that it's doing to women. We've looked back at the Woods deal and how inadequate that was. And we estimate that, there's absolutely millions outstanding in retribution to the state from the church, and the redress schemes have been totally inadequate. But the elephant in the room here remains the control and the dominance that the Catholic Church have over our education system in particular, and over our health and other vital public services. Years after Ryan and decades after the scale of abuse in our church and our institutions came to light, we have failed utterly to take that one action that would, more than any apology or any compensation scheme, say that we have truly learnt the lessons of the past. But we have failed to separate church and state. And we doubled down on it recently in the move of the National Maternity Hospital from Holles Street into St Vincent's. The fact that many of our hospitals are still under control of religious orders on land owned by those orders are subject to canon law and Catholic ethos. And in recent years, Catholic religious orders worldwide have transferred their assets into Vatican-approved charities, but the ethos continues. And this sort of transfer is common all over Ireland. 95% of primary schools are denominational, and 89% of those are run by the Catholic Church. The patron, the Catholic Church and the Archbishop determine the ethos of the school. They appoint the Board of Management. The Board of Management manage the school. The Board of Management is the teacher's employer. That might all be fine if it was a private arrangement, but it's not. The state pays the teachers' wages, it pays for the running of the school, it covers the bulk of capital costs, etc. So we have a religious education that's dedicated to a faith. and we have a sex education system that is totally inadequate to give children the tools to deal with if they come across abuse or any other meaningful attempt for them to be used either in the school or at home or in society. In the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland, the schools remain exempt from employment equality legislation. That means that teachers are treated differently and can be treated differently in the eyes of the law. So the real honour that we can give the victims of abuse of any sort in the care of this state and the church is not to suggest that the state was blameless, and to compound the insult to those children and their families, but is actually to set about what is the real task that we should be looking into is separating church and state. Because after all, the state gained a lot by handing control of health and education over to the church back in the day when the state was originally founded. It yielded a sort of obedience and a wider sense in society that you don't speak up for yourself, that you have to be humiliated, that you have to carry guilt, and all of that has been expressed in the sort of society that Ireland has been up to now. Thankfully, these people are speaking out. For many, it is too late. For many, of the young men across Ballyfermot who had taken their own lives, having attended De La Salle College and other schools in the area, many of them don't have a voice today. But let's do the right thing by them all and end the legacy of the total connection of church and state in vital services, particularly in education and where children are concerned in this state.
Thanks, sir.